Hello, I'm Irma Baker. Welcome to our show. We're sponsored by the RSVP program, that's the Retired Senior Volunteer Program of Mature Services. And our guest today had a very interesting childhood and an adolescence and young adulthood of very many choices. We'll be right back after these messages with Mary Kaufman-Schwartz.
RSVP of Summit County has been making a difference in our community since 1972. RSVP volunteers are increasing the quality of life by participating in programs and organizations that provide important services to the community. RSVP matches personal interests and skills with opportunities to serve. If you're interested in adding more meaning to your life and improving the lives of others, please call 330-253-4597, extension 166.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Mary Kaufman-Schwartz, a woman who started out as being born into an Amish family here in the Ohio Amish country, and today is a psychologist working with people all over. So Mary, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you with us today. You have written a book, and we happen to have it here, called Coming into Focus, From an Amish Childhood to a Journey of Many Choices. And after reading this book, that is just so true. It was an excellent title for the book. You began as a typical Amish child, or was it a typical family? Tell us a little bit about your early childhood.
Well, when I was a small child, it seemed like a typical Amish family, but as time went on, we were certainly not a typical Amish family, because my sisters and brothers, all except one, went to college. And so there was a progression of us leaving. My oldest sister left first, and then slowly the next and the next and the next and the next. And when I say we left, we didn't go to the Amish church anymore. We went to the Mennonite church, most of us. At least at the beginning we did.
Well, let me stop you right there and say, what can you tell us about the difference between the Amish and the Mennonites? Not going into great detail, but what are just kind of the basic differences?
The basic differences are that the Mennonites are much more liberal than the Amish. There is such a wide range of Amish, from very conservative to more liberal, and also among the Mennonites, from very conservative to very liberal. So when I say Mennonites, it's a wide range of people who live very differently from each other, but the main thing is the more liberal aspects. Mennonites drive cars, Amish drive horses and buggies. Many Amish don't have electricity. Mennonites all have electricity. It's a wider world view among the Mennonites than among the Amish.
What struck me in your book, well, many things struck me in your book as I was reading it, and your book is really a series of vignettes about your life from early childhood to your adulthood. But a couple of things that struck me, for instance, there are photos in the book. And of course, with my experience of the Amish, going to Amish country, a day trip down to Amish country, or reading books with Amish settings, I'm more familiar with the stereotype of the Amish, which I think what you're saying is that that's the more rigid view, the less liberal of the Amish, but that the Amish themselves have a variety.
A variety of, I'm not sure what you say when you say
lifestyles, that the lifestyle has more variety in it than perhaps we see on TV or in the books.
Oh, yes. However, my parents never had a camera. The photos that I have were taken by my siblings as they left the Amish. And we don't have a lot of photos. There is one of my father in the book that at one time he was ready to, he tried to tear that up, but my sister got it away, got it, and it was not torn up, thank goodness. But the photos were very few. The photo that's on the cover of my book is of me at the youngest age that I know a photo of me being
And what is
around.
unique about that photo that's on the cover of the book, is that you're dressed in boys' clothes.
I am, and I loved wearing them. They're my brother's pants, his old pants, and I could only wear them when I was going raspberry picking. And so it was a wonderful freedom to wear boys' pants and not a dress.
And of course your dresses at that time were very basic, very plain, very simple, and at one point you rebelled against wearing the Amish clothes and actually refused to have your picture taken in them.
That is true. That was when I was just ready to leave and go to high school, and I didn't want any remembrance of that time when I was wearing Amish clothes. And I wish I had those photos now, but I don't have them.
There were none then.
No.
You had a most unusual, well, talk a little bit about what it was like before you left, before you were really taken with this idea of not wanting to live the Amish lifestyle of the stereotype. Just what was daily life like?
It was really very nice. We lived on a farm and had a large farmhouse, had cows and all sorts of animals. And because I was the youngest in a family of 8 children, I didn't have as many chores as my older siblings did. So I was free to roam in the fields and go down to the creek and catch tadpoles, and it really was very, very nice. I had chores every Saturday. My chore, from the time I think I had to stand on a stool to make a cake, and the bowl was in the sink, but every Saturday my chores were to make a cake for the family and to make the pies. And my mother would make the dough and the filling, but it was my task to roll out the dough, and she would put the filling in and I would put the top on. And it really was lovely, and it was a wonderful feeling to know that I participated in the work of the family.
When did that change, that you started feeling that wasn't enough?
For as long as I can remember, I knew I would leave eventually. I cannot remember a time when I didn't know that. I don't know where it came from, except probably from my oldest sister. She was 15 years older than I was, and she would come home from college and she would have beautiful clothes, and she would talk about students from foreign countries, and she would talk about her classes, and it was fascinating to me. It was fascinating.
All of your older brothers and sisters, you were the last of the 8 living children, because I think your mother lost a few children
Yes.
along the way. You were the youngest, so you actually grew up in a family where there was this influence and this exposure to the
Yes.
world beyond the farm. When did you actually take a stand about leaving, I guess you'd say leaving the Amish church?
When I was going to getting ready to go to high school. I was 14, and I no longer wanted to participate in the Amish church. I was going to go to high school in a few months, or maybe it was just a month. I don't remember anymore. And I did not want to participate anymore in the Amish church.
Taking that experience, And certainly that caused controversy and tension in the home, being that all the others had already left and you were kind of like the last hope to stay Amish.
Yes.
What was it like in the house? How did your parents react?
Earlier, it was very, very painful for my mother. My father always wanted to leave, but didn't because my mother refused. And so he was okay with it. But it was very painful for my mother, and that still makes me sad. Eventually, they also left. And my mother actually supported me by asking my father if it was okay with him for me to wear non-Amish clothes before I went to high school. We went to a wedding of my cousin, and I knew it was very hard for her, but she did.
That is something that is so strange to us who only know the Amish from, as I said, those trips to Amish country or seeing things on TV, because I think our impression is that once you leave the Amish church or you decide that you're not going to follow the day-to-day Amish lifestyle, that you're shunned by the rest of the community. But that didn't happen in your family. In your family, the ones who had left were welcome back at home.
Well, none of us ever became members of the church.
Oh, talk a little bit about that.
You become members of the church when you turn around 18, 19, when you consciously make a decision that you want to live the lifestyle of an Amish person. And then you're baptized as an adult. And after that, if you leave in the church I belong to, or that I went to, then people are shunned. My parents were shunned briefly, and I never knew very much about that because they didn't talk much about it. But I know there was a period of time when relatives didn't come to visit. I don't think they came to visit at all. But then soon after that, my mother became terminally ill, and then they came.
I think that's very interesting then, that you and all your brothers and sisters had made the decision before being faced with choosing the Amish church. And that certainly is new to me. You know, I didn't make that connection there. Mm-hmm. So it did, in a sense, make it easier. But on the other hand, it was a choice to be made at a very young age, a very adolescent age. Do you feel that it sat well with all your brothers and sisters? Were they all glad that with the choice that they made not to join the church?
Oh, I think so. I think every one of them was glad he or she did not join the church.
Now, what was it like after you started high school and you're going to, a public high school in the area? Was it much of an adjustment for you, even though you had the example of your brothers and sisters?
It was a huge adjustment. It was huge. There were so many things you just didn't know. And where it's so important at that age to fit in. And I didn't really fit in. I didn't know people. I had always gone to school where I knew everybody. I knew their families. And my family was a well-respected family in the community. And then I went to a school where people didn't know me and I didn't know them. I had a cousin there, so I knew her. She was in my grade. But it was exciting, but also scary.
Were there very many Amish children or Amish teenagers in your high school, or were you one of the few was kind of an oddball to the rest of the students?
I was one of not very many. I was, my brother was still in school when I went in high school, and there were a few others, but very few. And we didn't, I'm sort of surprised that we didn't connect with each other, although I don't think there was even one Amish girl that was there. There were a few boys throughout the time that I was in high school.
You were a unique experience then for the other students.
Probably. I never thought about that, but probably.
Okay, one of the things that seems to me a great leap is here is this young Amish girl who is going to a public high school. As you just said, you didn't have much experience of the world outside of the farm, essentially, in your Amish community, other than what your brothers and sisters brought in. And yet you went on to become a psychologist. When did you even know that there were such things as psychologists?
Well, when I was, after college, I moved to Washington, D.C., and it was a wonderful time in my life. I loved that time because I was away for the first time from my family. Nobody knew my family. My sister and brother my brother was in medical